Hey Harlem, how you doing? I'm about to tear it up in here. A little late. I had to go take care of my grandson. I'm just getting back, so apologize for that. So we'll see if anybody come in. It's a little late. Welcome in, everybody. Come in, hit the like. We'll give them a few minutes to get in. Harlem. So it's just me and you in here right now. What do you think about this book? Should we just keep going? Because what my thoughts were is I'll read it and then just discuss what she kind of said in the chapters. I like to hear her read because I can listen and do other things. But what do you think? What are your thoughts? I had scheduled a live on YouTube through the app, and I don't know, I couldn't find it. I guess it's gone. Yeah, so go ahead and you think do the audio, and then we talk about it. Or do I listen, or would you could rather me read and then we just come and automatically talk about it? Do we listen to it together? Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Because you're right, listening to her goes faster. But you can read and come back to us and talk about it. Yes, so okay, I like that. And that way, people ain't so bored listening to the whole thing that don't, there are some people that don't want to hear the reading or have already read it, but just to hear like my opinion there, and then we all have this conversation about it after I read it. So that'll work. Let me see what's going on. There's a lot going on. All right, I'll give everybody, gosh, there's nobody coming yet. But I'll give everybody just a few minutes to come in, and then we'll just get started, right? Because everybody might not be interested or already ready. Yeah, absolutely. Same, I agree. Same thoughts, my same thoughts. And it's so much more going on, than that. So I'll just read it, put it as part of our freestyle conversations every day because we talk about a little bit of everything. Just add that to it. All right. Well, dang, Harlem, just us. What I'm gonna do, Harlem, is I'm gonna back out and I'm just gonna go through YouTube, and then can you meet me over there? And I'm gonna change the title. All right, I'm just gonna start. I'll stay here. So tonight, we're not gonna we're gonna talk about chapter 4 really quick. Just give you guys my overview of chapter 4, and then we're gonna get into a little bit of Nancy Guthrie and what's going on. The deadline for the ransom has passed, so we need to see what the update is on that. Any more information? I got a little bit more information on Cardi B and Stefan Diggs. Now, it's what's been said, so we'll see about that, but I wouldn't put it past him. I will say that. So we can talk about that. We don't have to stay very long. I've been live twice today. I know it's late over there where you are, Harlem. I just love you so much and thank you for being so faithful to this channel. I really appreciate it. Gonna try to get Fugitive TV back over here to talk about Miss Guthrie and his thoughts when we get a chance to get to his schedule. So we got that coming up. So a little bit of a lot of everything. So I'm not coming on camera tonight. First of all, I don't feel good. Second of all, it just ain't a camera night. So we just gonna move on. Let me get into my conversation or my thoughts, sorry, about Rashona and chapter 4. I'm only going to do chapter 4. Tomorrow I'll do 5 and 6 so we can kind of move this along and get done with it. Of course, I have been hearing, other channels, or like I think somebody has sent me something and was like, listen to this, like people really don't believe her. And at this point, I'm not really into who believes her, who don't believe her, or that's not of my interest. My interest is just what I think and what I see, and then I'll talk about that. But people, like with everything else, can believe and do whatever they want to do. So in chapter 4, so she talks about, we're going to go through this a little fast, but chapter 4, she's talking about, she goes home and so they have Bible study together. Her mom and dad and brother, they all have Bible study together. And this was a Bible study night. Well, let me back up. She had a conversation with her dad before he passed away. And his dad was like, he just wished he would have been like more outspoken, would have like his discernment would have been like, he would have spoke on his discernment, and he would have said what he thought. He would have showed up. Like his reasoning behind why he didn't was because he was working and had a steady job to provide for the family. I kind of side eye that a little bit, in that you don't know what's happening inside that house, what's happening with your daughter. Yet she did, though. She lied to them as though everything was okay, but she was like, there were times where, it was noticeable that she wouldn't talk to any other man, look at any other man except for Robert and her dad. And so, but I do a little bit side eye them a tiny bit, in that she said they hadn't even seen the inside of Robert's home, where she was sleeping when she was there, none of that. And she just wished that they had have done that. And then she goes on to talk about it was one night they had Bible study in the house, and her dad was like praying, and the prayer was like praying away basically pedophiles, but praying away. He was like, the kids being violated sexually, those kind of prayers. And she said, it just went all through her body. And then so that was over that, Bible study. So it felt like he was talking directly, praying directly over her because he was like, just pray over their son, but especially their daughter. Because I think that at that point, he kind of dad knew, but dad wasn't going to say anything at this point. And so he was just like kind of praying over them. Then there was another time she went home. When she got home, her little brother was gone, and she was like, "When is little Greg coming home? Like, why is he not here?" And said he's staying at your grandma's, and it looked like her mom had been crying, and her dad's face was like mugging, like he was mad. And this is where they tell her that her Aunt Sparkle has called DFC. I think that's what they call it. We call it something different. DFC, the Department of Family and Children's Services or something like that. But anyway, DHS called them, and there is now an open investigation. And her mom was like, I'm not sure why Stephanie, I think, ain't that her name? Stephanie, Sparkle's name, Stephanie. I don't know why she would do this and we not resolve this as a family, why she would take it there. And then but her dad was looking at it a different way. Like, are you lying to us? Like, we need to know what's going on. And she kind of distracted them with, like, how in the world can y'all believe what Sparkle is saying? Remember when Grandpa did whatever Grandpa did? Hey, Miss Giselle, welcome. Stephanie. So were the parents getting paid? So what happened was, and I think you just came in, Miss Giselle. Let me tell you where we're at right now, is what we know right now. So what we know right now is she had a conversation with her dad about the whole situation before he passed away. And her dad was like, he wished he would have spoke up. He wished he would have been more present. He wished he would have said something. But the reason that he didn't is because he had this steady job with Rob being the bass player in the studio. And so he just looked at it as he was, able to steadily take care of the family. He didn't really say nothing. And I was just telling everybody here that, I was kind of side-eyeing dad for that, in the fact that your daughter's over there. And then she had talked about earlier on in the book that her dad would come to the room where she was in the studio, knock on the door, and see if she was okay. Like, there was a lot of red flags. If somebody didn't tell you outright, there were a lot of red flags. And so I kind of am side-eyeing at least dad. I don't know what all mom knew, but dad was in that studio every day. And so now we come to the part where, so basically when you say getting paid, she did talk about that. I think in an interview, they asked her, did they get paid like the rest of the families? And she said it wasn't that he was paying them. What happened was, when this all came out, her mom and dad and whole family was getting death threats. They couldn't work. They couldn't keep a job. It was horrible for them. So because if they didn't have a job, they couldn't survive. So what happened is R. Kelly just started paying their bills because they could go nowhere because of the whole debacle with him. And now it's spread across the whole world that he's doing what he's doing with her. And so he just started paying their bills. So anyway, in chapter 4, it's when Sparkle goes to DFC and tells them that they believe that there is something going on with her as an underage child with a grown man, and the grown man is R. Kelly. So her mom and dad set her down. Now, if you're not familiar, okay, we can talk about that. If you're not familiar, what was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. But anyway, um, so anyway, it was all out. DFC is now called, and she's trying to convince her mom and dad that nothing is going on. And why are we having this conversation? And her mom was like, wait a minute, like, we got to have this conversation because you're our child and we need to know what's going on. Like, that's your godfather. We get that. That's your godmama. Aunt Andrea is your godmom. But why does Sparkle feel like there's something actually going on with between you and Robert? And so she just kind of distracted them with the fact that, remember when Robert did this for us and our grandpa was in a situation? Dad was like, yeah, remember when he did this for us, and remember how he showed up for us, and remember all these things. And they were like, yeah. So she was kind of able to distract them from the fact that Sparkle is lying because Sparkle's mad because Sparkle lost her business relationship with Robert. He cut her off. And so, but he was still Rashona's godfather, so they still had interaction with him, where Rashona didn't have the interaction with him anymore. He cut her off. So they kind of went for that, scenario. Let me see. Harlem says, before the tape was released, nobody knew unless it was talked in Chicago. So, but here, I think where I am side-eyeing him is the part where she's in the studio and she's in this room and she kind of puts it like, Dad sneaks away and comes and finds me and knocks on the door and say, are you okay? Like, that's weird to me, when that's your daughter in some room, tucked away. Like, how are we taking it? Are we taking it as though, okay, she shouldn't be upfront with us anyway, he just got her in there? It's just weird to me that that happened. And so that's what I'm saying, is that she shouldn't be in the studio with just Robert. And then when Dad comes to work and they're in the studio working, he kind of gets away, sneaks away, and come to a room to find her, knock on the door and say, are you okay in here? Like, what? That's where I'm like, what? Side-eyeing them a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that part, Harlem or Miss Giselle? Anybody? Right. So yeah, like I'm just saying, if my 14-year-old is 15-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever, first of all, she's not gonna be there. Second of all, now I'm having to sneak off and go to a room and make sure she okay. No, I'm going to the room to knock on the door and say, bring yourself out of here. Let's go. I'll give me a gig somewhere else. If we got to live in a shoebox together, opposed to this going on in here, that's what we're gonna do. Let's roll. That's just how that's how I think. You don't know. That's just what I would do. But everybody's not the same, because they did have a struggle, and her dad, like, he was paying him to be the studio bass player. It was steady. It was a paycheck. He was getting paid on top of, Rashona was being taken care of, all he knew. Right. So, and this is, and to your point, Harlem, I side-eye both parents. To your point, I feel like you're husband and wife. So sure, y'all are pillow talking, y'all are having conversations, right? Every time she wanted to go stay in that home, you allowed her to go stay in that home. You allowed her to, like, she was catching the bus and going down there supposedly doing her homework, which the twins talked about, her being in the studio doing her homework, and then taking her home or taking her over to Robert's house from the studio. And so Miss Giselle, like, I know, right? I just feel like, well, they did lie initially, and said that wasn't her on the tape when when Sparkle made this call, and the investigation went on and he had to go to court. Remember, he beat the case. Well, that's because Rashona got on the stand and parents got on the stand, family members got on the stand, some family members didn't show up, saying that it wasn't her in the tape when it really was her in the tape. Harlem says, I'm sorry, but I don't know what kind of parents are okay with their child with a stranger, a stranger, either because that's basically what he was. He was basically a stranger. All y'all knew is he was R. Kelly, and he was this big superstar. Okay, but what else about him? And that wasn't the first time that you had heard about that, because, right, Aaliyah. You heard about Aaliyah. And then in the chapter 4, she talks about how her dad was like, so her dad was in the studio with Aaliyah, right? And when Aaliyah was making music, and Robert, all of them, they were, and Sparkle, they were all in the studio. And here's the thing. Her dad said, because he played for all kind of gospel singers, worldly singers, he was in the mix. He knew that a lot of stuff was not true. He knew that a lot of stuff, whatever was not his business, he kept his head out of it. So like with the Aaliyah thing, he just kind of basically took it with a grain of salt and just didn't get in it. Just turned a blind eye to it because, he was there to work. And so he didn't pay attention. But you know what? But even though you didn't get in it, it was there. And I feel like you knew something, and then they became married, right? And so before Rashona, which is why y'all might not agree with me, which is why I think Sparkle goes and R. Kelly called Sparkle to come and sing backup for Aaliyah. So I feel like Sparkle knew what was going on with Aaliyah and Rob. So she got Rashona in the back of her head, because right now although he's grooming Aaliyah or allegedly doing whatever he's doing with Aaliyah, he's still allowing her to make music, and she's becoming this big star. Okay. Sparkle's deal was that she wanted to bring R. Kelly to the family because everybody was musically inclined in the family. So she wanted to make sure everybody got there. So she got Greg on with them, which was the daddy. But she also knew Rashona was really big out of the US. In other countries like Europe, they were big performers. So she wanted to hook Rashona up with R. Kelly so that Rashona could possibly become this big star like Aaliyah, is what I think. And it just fell by the wayside. Nobody was Aaliyah. No, there was not another Leah coming behind Aaliyah. That's what I think with Robert. There was not another Leah that was going to become, there was nobody else going to become what he made or created for Aaliyah, the opportunities he created for Aaliyah. So yeah, I feel like everybody, like she said, nobody really protected her. She kind of went with the flow. But they all denied everything. I didn't tell her to sit on his lap and rub his head. I didn't do this. No. Here's the whole picture. Whatever you did or didn't do, you guys knew she was in that place with that man alone. And no one went and grabbed her up and said, no more Godfather, no more of this. We ain't doing this no more. Nobody did that. So they let it go on from 12 years old until she got to a point, to an age where in an interview, they was like, well, how did you leave him? She said when she did leave him, it was still tied. They still had ties to each other. I'm jumping ahead. And she just had to pray her way out. So I won't jump ahead. We'll talk about that. Let's see. Exactly, Harlem. Exactly. That's my point I was trying to make about Sparkle. Yes. Exactly. And that's what I think about her. And then, but she, just like you said, Harlem, Sparkle wouldn't even take she won't even admit that she was married. I keep hearing that, Harlem, from you, because I think back and I don't know why I thought that in an interview or something Sparkle did that she did say she was married, but I'm wrong. Like, I guess we've never heard her say she was married. So why would she admit to anything else? So I believe that's what it was. Like she said she came with good intentions, that she wanted the family to be successful in the business. She was already coming up, and So she was getting ready to drop her album and do all these things, just like she's not admitting. Sparkle, who I'm talking about, is not admitting. And so this whole thing was out of spite for Sparkle, because Sparkle, I'm gonna say allegedly because she ain't admitting it, but according to this book and recorded, according to what Rashona said, Sparkle slept with R. Kelly. And Rashona was the younger girl, and that's what Robert put all his attention and time into Rashona once he became her godfather. And so when Rashona told Rob that she had this boyfriend, which was Steve Huff, which was used to work with Robert, and I guess they don't like each other. Rashona told her career was over. But Rashona's still the goddaughter, she's still there. And Sparkle was trying to find a way to get her out now. You should have been trying to get her out of there. Sparkle tries to say she left and came back, but she didn't. I verified that. So once she was gone, she was gone. Sparkle. And then they was like, well, Sparkle said she wasn't, or Sparkle said she didn't do. Y'all think Sparkle gonna get on there and say, I told her little 12-year-old self, 13-year-old, 12-year-old, I guess she was. I told her little 12-year-old self to get on his lap and rub his head. We trying to get in, we trying to get on and get the family on. So sit on his lap and ask him to be your God. You think she gonna say that? She ain't gonna admit to that. But Rashona said when she wrote this book, she wasn't sparing nobody, because nobody spared her. Nobody came to her rescue. They should have taken ownership of letting her daughter go to his house. Period. Well, and then they was like, her mom was like, Rashona, you have to understand this is a married man, so you're not gonna be blessed on messing with a married man. And she, I guess he had trained her to how to respond, and she put it into action. Was like, I'm not doing that. But he was just like, he told Rashona that his wife was familiar with his lifestyle, and she didn't care what he did. And do I believe that? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. He said so. And also in chapter 4, he had put on a video, and she said in this video, the things they were doing in that video was so scary. And obviously it was like a flick, right? And it was so scary, and she was just worried that he was going to ask her to do those things. So he basically asked her to do those things, and it was like a no for her, because she knew that if she did, it would hurt her. It would hurt. So she said no. He got so mad. He got on his phone and called another woman in, and he said, and then she said when the woman answered the phone, he would put her on speaker and tell her everything that he wanted her to do and come out to the studio. So there was in the studio, there's this room, this door that leads to the secret room where they are, right? So she said about 30 minutes later, and he was mad. See what you get when you say no, I'll just get on the phone and this is what happened. So she said about 30 minutes later, I think it was 30 minutes, they hear a knock on the door, and it's this woman. And every woman that Rashona had to be with, he blindfolded them so that they wouldn't see it was Rashona, but she saw them, just didn't see her eyes. And said that she came to the door as soon as she got to the door, Robert blindfolded her. She had on a bra but didn't have on panties, and walked in. Robert walked her to the couch, sat her down in his own. She was like, that's what he did. And so she said she felt so crazy. She learned at that point to not say no, because she did not want him calling another woman and making her sit there and watch. Crazy, crazy, crazy. She said she did background vocals and did background vocals and left, but she was there. That's when they started working on her album. And she said, so she lied. She lied. That is right, Harlem. It's exactly right. That's why I know. That's why I'm saying that about her, that you saw what he was doing for Aaliyah. How about I put Rashona on, show him Rashona? I'm sure he would be interested. And then Rashona will get what Aaliyah's getting. Nah. She getting some of what Aaliyah got, but not everything. She didn't get no music career. That was over. Unfortunately. It's crazy. And so then when she worked on her album, and she told Rashona that she had a boyfriend, and it was Steve Huff, and not to tell, you cannot tell Robert, because if you tell Robert my career, you cannot, I swear, I won't. And one day he came and asked her, but she should have known, Sparkle should have known at that point, whatever Robert said goes. If Robert asked me, I'm not lying to Robert. I'm going to tell him. And she told, and the relationship, and that's at that point is when Sparkle lost her business career with Robert. After the album and everything. Yep, that's right. It's a little crazy. So so now DCFS is called whatever they call it there. We don't call it that, but they called Rashona called, but she said this is what I want y'all to hear. She said let me get my glasses. Where are my glasses? I just had them there. She was like, in one of our conversations before he passed away, talking about her dad passed away in 2021. She said, Dad explained to me that he was naive, willfully ignorant of the possibilities of what could have been going on because the reality. Let me say this. He's telling her that he was naive. He was willfully ignorant of the possibilities of what could have been going on. No, he was privy to what was going on, but that because he had a steady job, he wasn't gonna say anything. She said he said that he had a steady paycheck as a session guitarist for Robert, and that I seemed to be happy, drowned out everything. As a man who has spent decades carving out a living in support of his family by working in studios and on stage with Christian and secular artists alike, my dad had learned not to believe everything he heard. Gossip stuck to the walls like glue in the music industry, but he chose to keep his head above the fray and sometimes stuck in the sand rather than be dragged into a swirl of messiness. Dad knew that lies circulated quicker than the truth, and that most of it wasn't his business anyway. So he played the guitar and he left. Even though he had a feeling things were going on, he had a strong feeling that something was going on. He overlooked it because what was his business was to be in there and be a studio guitarist. And when the session was over, go home, get his check, go home. She says she did background vocal. Oh, okay. We already said that. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of this, I would say, her father, and I'm sure if her father knew that the father and the mother was having the conversation. I heard again today that she did get on the stand and say that she had relations with Robert and Andrea, his wife, but that she was legal age at that time when that happened. She said, as far as Dad was concerned, our family's association with Robert Kelly was a net positive. See, it was about the money. Dad had a gig, Sparkle had an album, and I had a godfather. Dad didn't know as much as I did about what he made and Sparkle's business. Dad didn't know as much as I did about what had made Aunt Sparkle's business relationship with Robert explode. She didn't tell him, and he knew better than to ask. Sure, Dad, like the rest of Chicago and the world, had heard the rumor that Robert married the artist Aaliyah when she was 15. But again, he didn't think it had legs, so he didn't put any stock in it. What Dad had witnessed firsthand with that was that Robert had given his life to Christ and committed to being a better man. Mm. So whenever she went home and they told her that it was an open investigation, after the conversation, she went to her room. She called Robert and told him what was going on. She said, they said your Aunt Stephanie has been in touch with the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS. They've launched an investigation. Seems she thinks you may be involved in some indecent sexual activity at Robert's studio, and it's with Robert. What do you have to say about that? So we talked about that. Blah, 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 blah. So then she said, I wanted to see where she went and talked to Robert and told him. She said, my parents didn't say anything else to me. They wanted to believe me, to believe the words Robert had given me. Robert wanted my parents to feel a sense of guilt and indebtedness for even doubting him, and they did. As quickly as all the allegations intruded into our lives, my parents wrapped their arms tightly around our family of four and faced them down, complete with our ironclad agreement about all necessary alibis. I was relieved. Robert was so proud of me. I had passed most of the difficult loyalty tests to date. I had stood up for our love, and now mom and dad, Robert had all had Aunt Sparkle in our crosshairs. My parents had an obvious interest in proving these allegations to be false. At 15, I was focused on this aspect of things beyond what they said, that Sparkle's reckless allegations could rip both me and my little brother away from my parents. So she was threatening to take that DCFS would take them. So that's it on that. Yeah. All right. So we can move on. Tomorrow we'll start with chapter 5. I mean, we'll talk about chapter 5 and what goes on in chapter 5. Yeah. All right, let's move on really quick. We won't be much longer. All right, I want to see what the latest is with Nancy Guthrie, which is Savannah Guthrie's mom, who has been kidnapped, abducted. The deadline has passed. There had been no Bitcoin sitting there. It was still zero. They are asking for $6 million. A lot has gone on. A lot has gone on. All right, let me see. What's the latest? All right, so oops, wrong one.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my show. Really, really appreciate it. I appreciate all the support. I've been seeing all your messages. Thank you so much. Please click to subscribe. Of course, I'm still here in Arizona, in Tucson, outside Nancy Guthrie's house. The mystery just seems to deepen. I mean, there's a lot of everybody's asking me. I mean, friends who I haven't heard from in like years are texting me, what's going on with the case? I mean, my mom is texting me constantly. What do you know that we don't know? I mean, honestly, it's still very mysterious about what is actually going on behind the scenes and what police may know and what they may not know. And is there a possibility that police literally don't know anything and that they're following up on different leads, but they have nothing concrete? It's possible, especially after what Savannah Guthrie said in her latest video that she just posted to Instagram, asking the public for help. Listen to what Savannah said.
There, everybody.
So we heard this. They said the Monday deadline of 5 o'clock Mountain Time has since passed, and the FBI says they are not aware of any continued communication between the Guthrie family and the suspected kidnappers. A previous alleged deadline for ransom, which is meant to be paid in Bitcoin, passes on February the 5th. And so now what's so crazy about this is they was the whoever had her mom was they were communicating with her, and now there's no more communication. And they stated that today after 5, if they didn't have the money, it was just going to be horrific. That's all we had learned. Well, that deadline has came and passed, and there's no more communication. So they were earlier saying that they had a location of where their mom might be, but I feel like if they had a place or a location where the mom might be, they would have went up into that place, went up in there wherever they're saying her mama was. So right now they're still at a standstill. This is day 9, and she's still missing. She's still not home. They're afraid to put $6 million in somebody's Bitcoin, and they can't confirm that it'll be a fact that they'll get their mother back. So I think that's just a sad situation. I just can't imagine. It is unclear if the family paid at this point, it's unclear if the family paid the $6 million in Bitcoin demanded by the alleged kidnappers before the 5 o'clock deadline. So we don't know if they went ahead and paid it. They want to pay it, but they were hesitant to pay it because they wasn't sure where she was. It's just so crazy. It's weird. This is just crazy. I don't know if this is like an inside job. Why do they keep going to the sister's house? When they mentioned something about the son-in-law, they've been to the sister's house twice and investigated things and have taken things out of her house. So I'm not sure what is going on. We will know though. Either way, however they get her back or not. I hate to say that, but we'll get more to this story. That is crazy. So anyway, we'll continue to send up prayers. We'll continue to follow it and see what happens. But now, like, what is really scary is he had been whoever this person is had been communicating with them, and then after 5 o'clock, there's no more nothing. And there's that they know of. There's no more communication. Period. Last I heard, the Bitcoin was not fulfilled, but this was saying that we don't know for sure if it has been or not. $6 million, and we will give her back. The other scary thing was when they found blood on the porch, the blood DNA came back to her mom. So why was she bleeding? Like, what did you do to her? Did she cut her finger? Like, what happened? So anyway, we'll move on because I want to get to Cardi B really quick. So we talked about Cardi B earlier. About her and Stefan Diggs calling it off. They're allegedly not together anymore. They split up. They stopped following each other on Instagram, and people wonder like what happened. And you'll see a video where Cardi B was walking through, and the interviewer, a reporter, stopped her and then said, "What words do you want to send to Stefan for the game? Good luck," and walked off. Like right then, you knew. So anyway, we're hearing allegedly. Yes. You got to go listen, Harlem. It's crazy. It just becomes even more crazy by the minute with Miss Guthrie. But with Cardi B, allegedly, we're not sure, but I'm hearing Stefan Diggs got another baby on the way. Is that new news, old news? But whatever happens, this baby, there's a new baby that is allegedly his that's on the way. Cardi B said no more babies, no cheating, no nothing. If so, I'm calling it off. So they unfollowed each other, and I don't know, but neither one of them have come out and said. I would expect for Cardi to come out quicker than I would expect for Stefan to say anything about it. But an alleged another baby, allegedly. Now, with Stefan's track record, I don't put it past him. It may not even be true. But if it is, I'm not going to be shocked and floored that this is what's happening. And I'm not shocked and floored that if it is true, that he knew it was coming. So, you know, 50 Cent had something to say about it, right? So 50 comes out. 50 Cent jokes about Cardi B and Stefan Diggs' rumor breakup, lost that B and the Super Bowl. That is crazy. 50 Cent be trolling. It says 50 Cent is weighing in on Cardi B and Stefan Diggs' rumored breakup. Not long after the New England Patriots lost Super Bowl, whatever that number is, to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday night, some fans realized that the rapper and the wide receiver were no longer following each other on Instagram, leading to rumors to the couple that the couple has called it quits. The get rich or die trying rapper didn't waste much time giving his take on the situation on Instagram. He said, "Can you imagine waking up this morning and you done lost this B and this Super Bowl? I would tell everybody, get away from me, have a drink, and go back to sleep." Oh, 50. You done lost your B and your Super Bowl. So 50. It's sad. But you know, it's 50 being 50. So anyway, I'm gonna end it on that note with 50 Cent going. Crazy. I'm gonna leave it on that note for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, our regular schedule. In the mornings when I'll be waking up and I see stuff, I do go live for a second in the morning. So maybe, but for sure, we'll be back tomorrow night. Thank y'all for being here. If you didn't hit the like on the way in, hit the like on the way out. I hope y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Okay.